Hello beauties, and welcome back to your official Hyaluron Pin channel. I hope that you guys are having the most incredible year. I hope that your businesses are thriving and that your clients are super happy. I'm so grateful that you are tuning in to watch this video. It's a very quick video. I've just put it together to give you a better explanation of what are you looking for when you're examining the lip to indicate to you whether or not your client is or isn't a good candidate for Hyaluron Pin. A lot of my students are online, and for that reason I find that the more videos I have, the more explanations I can give, the better for everyone involved. So please remember that these videos can never ever replace proper quality training, that these are just additional bits of information that I hand to my students. Our training manual is a proper, thick, comprehensive manual. I think it's 75-80 pages. Our online portal includes all your documents, your manuals, your videos. Like, it really is important that you're doing proper training when you're doing Hyaluron Pin training. Okay, enjoy. And welcome back to my Hyaluron Pin channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to chat to you a little bit about what are you when you are examining your lip prior to your Hyaluron Pin treatment, because I'm always and forever telling you guys to do that. I'm always telling you, do your consultation, be super thorough, make sure that you are able to identify that your client is not that she has no contraindications and that she is in fact a good candidate to have her Hyaluron Pin treatment done. So the other thing to consider is, obviously, when you're physically examining the client's lip before the treatment, you are looking for any physical evidence that you should either not proceed with the treatment, the Hyaluron Pin treatment. You're looking at reasons that could make your treatment more successful or more unsuccessful, so that you and your client can discuss all the various aspects involved and decide whether or not she should have this treatment done today. So obviously the main two things that you are usually looking at is anything vascular, so arteries and capillaries. So your lips are mainly made out of skin, muscles, and a network of vessels. So arteries are, but basically what they do is they carry blood from your heart to your organs. They are the largest vessels with the thickest walls, and they're normally located quite deep into in muscles. So on this little video here, you can actually see a part of the superior lobar artery, and that is quite rare. It's nice to be able to see it. You don't normally have the opportunity to see it, but it is normally located very much in line with the lip muscle, and this is obviously a lot more superficial. This is why we can see it. Your muscle is obviously located below your subcutaneous tissue, so obviously this is normally something that you cannot see. But as we always teach you to inspect. It is possible that you could see it even looking from the looking at your client's lips on the surface. You might even be able to see a part of this artery. If you can see it, you'd obviously want to not do the treatment on the client. You'd have to really control where you're applying pressure. So I don't know if you have watched my vascular occlusion video. If you have not, I highly recommend it. It gives you perspective over can we cause a vascular occlusion using the Hyaluron Pen device. A normal standard Hyaluron Pen device with a PSI of 95, because I know now there are so many things that have, that video was like 2 years old, so a lot more devices have come out lately, and they're not all your standard Hyaluron Pen devices. Anyway, so when you're looking for arteries, it's unlikely for you to find one, but it is very important as a qualified Hyaluron Pen practitioner that you are going to familiarize yourself with the facial anatomy and where your arteries would be found. Okay. Then little superficial capillaries. These are more common. Still, maybe 1 out of every 20 clients I will see this on or be able to see it on, so it's not very common. But if you can see little superficial capillaries, please know that you shouldn't be fracturing them during your Hyaluron Pen treatment, because obviously they are vascular, hence you can actually see them. You will be causing bruising and swelling. So if you were to hit one of these little superficial capillaries and fracture them, they would obviously cause a little bit of bleeding. The bleeding would be slow and generally clot within literally a matter of seconds, if not a minute. So obviously hitting one of these would not be detrimental. It's just an unnecessary bruise that you don't want your client to have to deal with. So if you can see them, you'll avoid them. I'll show you in one of the following slides. Okay, so here we are just doing a little quick examine of the lips. I was just showing a student what to do. I just want to point out that you can see on the inside of the lip how very vascular it is. So that is what we'd call the wet part of the lip, and this is what we'd call the dry part of the lip. You would never ever want to do any hyaluron shots inside the wet line of the lips, mostly because of how vascular it is, but also the tissue structure here is completely different, and you will definitely cause lumps if you were to shoot in this area. So as you can just see, I'm just showing there's a little capillary, a little burst blood vessel on this lip. This client had never had anything done before, but I just wanted to show you how I actually examine the lips before we do any treatments. And so just to clarify or to summarize, during your consultation, check the lips for superficial capillaries, so like I've just shown you, excessive dry skin, which I will show you in the slide coming up, artery movement. So so it is hard to spot an artery, but if you see pulsating, that is a good indication that you are seeing one. I would not do a hyaluron pen treatment on a client with a pulsating artery on the surface of the lip. Inside the lip, it's really not a concern to me because I do not ever work anywhere close to the inside of the lip into the wet area. But if I could see a pulsating artery on the surface of the lip, I would not do any hyaluron pen treatment on them, because we know that with the hyaluron pen it is virtually impossible for us to actually hit an artery. And if we were to hit an artery, we're not using a bolster of product, we're using dispersed little fragments of product. So again, occlusion not really likely, but also for so many reasons, like the hyaluron pen is a PSI of 95, so the pressure in it is very little in comparison to taking a sharp cannula or needle and injecting into the artery. But still, regardless, it's not something that I would want to have to deal with. It's not necessary, so I would rather say that that puts the client in the category of not a good candidate for the hyaluron pen. Thin tissue, so I often say thin lips, but I'm referring to the tissue content being thin. Some people have a habit of chewing on their own lips. This thins the tissue excessively, which means that the skin is hypersensitive, it's hyper thin, and you are more prone to running risks of like lumpiness, bruising, and bleeding. Highly vascular lips, so on the previous slide, like there you could see on the inside of the lip it's highly vascular, but on the surface I don't see any signs of superficial capillaries or the very rare chance of there being a superficial artery. Okay, so then just to quickly recap, so there are three types of blood vessels. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry blood back towards the heart, and capillaries, the smallest blood vessels, connect arteries and veins. So capillaries is usually what you will be looking out for. Like I said, the chance of you actually spotting an artery is rare, and if you do, it's usually on the inside of the lip where you are not working. So it just mentions here, arteries do carry blood from the heart to the organs. They're the largest blood vessels with the thickest walls and are usually located deep into the muscles. But obviously your lip tissue is only so thick, so even though the artery should be around the muscle, obviously each individual is unique, and it is not to say that it'll definitely be found there. It could be more superficial, it could be at the top of the subcutaneous tissue. Capillaries, so capillaries transport blood between arteries and veins. Capillaries are the smallest blood vessels, and they are inside tissue all over the body. If you rupture a capillary, again, bleeding will occur. It will be slow, and it will generally clot within, in my experience, seconds, but if not, minutes. Do not work over these. So again, just to go over, because this is the thing that I think I get the most of. I get pictures and DMs from people all around the world on a daily basis that have either had a hyaluron pen treatment or is trained, certified, maybe had poor quality training, or does not have access to after training support, which is critical in anything relating to skin. Regardless, they are often looking for advice as to why did a client bruise so quickly, or is this bruise normally? Why did this happen? How can I avoid it? And those answers usually run down to you have hit or you are hitting superficial capillaries. Look out for them before you even start your treatment. You can still do the treatment if it's just a superficial capillary, but you will be doing your shots around the capillaries and not over the capillaries. I would say stay about 2 millimeters away from the capillary. Okay, and then with regards to when you are examining the client's lips of where you can and cannot do your treatment, this is the wet line of the lips, as I showed you in the one of the previous slides in the little video. This is a no-go zone for hyaluron pen. Firstly, it's vascular. Secondly, the tissue does not handle your hyaluronic acid well. It is going to become lumpy, it's going to be thick, and it will most likely need to be dissolved if you're going to put filler into this area. The dry lip area is where you are able to apply, to use your hyaluron pen to apply hyaluronic acid into the skin. So usually when I train my students, especially when they're newer in the hyaluron pen industry, I would tell them to try to first focus on working more on the vermilion section of the lip. So the vermilion border is obviously the outer border on the lips, both at the top and the bottom. And that area is usually easier to work on while you're getting comfortable with your pen. That's why I would normally tell my students to do more of the shots, and then they can do shots on the volume area of the lip as well, but you'll be doing a little bit less there. I am working on a mapping video for you just to clarify what it would do when you're doing shots on the vermilion border versus what it would do to the lip shape when you're doing shots on the volume area of the lip. But never, ever, ever would you ever work in the wet line. This client has a protruding lip. This is just a stock image, so this is actually of a cold sore. Here you cannot see the wet line, it's inside the lip, which means I can do shots even down here. But again, if you're still new in the industry of hyaluron pen, my suggestion would be to focus more on the outside of the lip, closer to the vermilion line. Okay, then just looking at these three images quickly. So obviously this client has perfectly beautiful lips. I can't see any blood vessels on the lip. The lip looks healthy, it looks hydrated, and there should be no reason, assuming you've done a consultation and you've gone through the medical information regarding the client's medication, medical history, you understand the client better, their environment, their daily activities, their lifestyle. Assuming all of that has taken place already, this client's physical lip appearance looks like she is definitely a suitable candidate for a hyaluron pen treatment. This client has actually got a cold sore, hence she is not currently a suitable candidate for any lip treatment whatsoever. Definitely not hyaluron pen. I risk spreading this virus and all across the lip borders, and I would definitely not have a good result at the end of the day because of the amount of trauma and inflammation that would occur from the fever blisters themselves. This client also not a good candidate for a hyaluron pen treatment, and that is because of the excessive amount of dry skin. This acts as an additional barrier to getting your hyaluron pen filler from the ampule inside the lip. Again, these pens do not have a very strong power mechanism. They have a PSI pressure of 95, which means that there is additional obstructions. You are probably going to get more product loss than you're going to get product into the lip, and you are just not going to have a very successful treatment. So if a client has such excessively dry lips, I would definitely recommend that they first treat their lips with lip moisturizers and lip balms, and gently exfoliate their lips with a dry toothbrush to get rid of any excessive dry skin. I would leave them for about 2 weeks to do this. Hydrate, drink like an electrolyte drink that'll help you restore and retain water. Drink extra additional water to what you normally do, and do the things that I've just mentioned with moisturizing and exfoliating. And that would put this client back into a position where I can then do her hyaluron pen treatment success. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that this will add a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of benefit to your hyaluron pen business and your confidence. I've mentioned my vascular occlusion video in this one, so if you haven't gotten there yet, please go and have a look at it, because it will give you much more clarity when you're talking about arteries and veins, capillaries, what to look for, because it is important for you to understand facial anatomy. It is important for you to understand where are arteries usually situated. Also important for you to understand how likely is it for you to hit an artery, to occlude an artery, to compress an artery. All of these things are important, and the information is dispersed in more than one video. But if you watch this video and you watch my hyaluron pen video, maybe one or two more, then you'll really be able to understand when it is safe to do hyaluron pen, when it is not safe to do hyaluron pen, where you should be placing your hyaluron pen filler, and of course, where you should not be working at all. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. I really appreciate all the love that I'm getting. Thanks, guys.